Now you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that you guys know how to sequence out your 8-bar loop and get that going for yourself, because you're watching the beat mixing video and not the beat sequencing video that has not been made yet. Um, just get your 8-bar loop set up, and we're gonna make sure on our channel rack every channel is separated to its own mixer routing, which would be the channel that the audio comes through on your built-in mixer. I'm using FL Studio 12. We don't really need that right now. I'll show you guys that in a second. Pretty much the main thing you want to know about mixing your beat is keeping everything in its own space and making sure that nothing is really overpowering anything else while working together on an independent level in your mix. First thing I usually do, make sure everything's routed to its own channel. Make sure all your samples are normalized, because they will come through at a lower or a crazy volume if they are not pro mixed kits. These, I believe, are not. First thing you'll do, turn your metronome on, back on at this point if you're still in the swing of sequencing out everything. That was a tongue twister. You'll turn the metronome on and you'll get your main instrument, your main riding instrument, and you'll take that and turn it all the way down. You'll let your metronome ride, and you won't focus on the 1, but you'll focus on the 2, 3, and 4 counts on your metronome and see where those hit. So we're peaking in between 6 and 9 dBs. That's a good level to start off with. So you want your main instrument to start off low. So you'll keep your metronome on and you'll slowly ride this volume up until they're just working together. That sounds good to me right there. Then from there, next thing I normally do is my 808s. My 808, I didn't EQ it. I used a Waves plugin, a C4, which is a compressor, as my EQ, which is a whole video in itself explaining what I did there. But I'm gonna get that in the mix. That's peaking right in between 9 and 6, so that's perfect where it's at. We're gonna get our hi-hat in there. But I'll skip the point real quick. I'm gonna go back. The point of doing your main instrument first is that will be your lowest volume in your mix, and then I go to my 808 next, which next to the kick, I don't have a kick in here because it's a pretty kicky 808. Your 808 or your kick is going to be the loudest thing in your mix, so everything else will fall at its own respective level in between those two. So we'll get our hi-hat somewhere right in the middle of those. You don't want to just look at the level of them and stick it there. You want to listen to it. So that's about good for me. Next thing, we'll get our snare in there. One thing I wanted to show you guys with the snare, that reverb that was up there earlier. I'll let you guys hear this snare, how it is. It's a nice snare, but it's a little plain sounding. So what I do is I'll start it all over for you guys, so you can see what actually goes on here. I like a little tail on my snares, just give them a little space of their own. So I put a little reverb on it. I like this fruity reverb personally. give a big wide reverb, and then you'll turn your pre-delay on, and you'll start working with that. As soon as I turn it on, you'll be able to hear the difference. Got a nice little reverb tail on there. Got our clap mixed in. Rest of our drums. Another cool thing you can do instead of sequencing out all your drums, little things like that open hat that I got riding in the back, I like to just put a little delay on. We'll set it to 4 count. We'll leave it just like that. Turn it down a little bit. You should have a nice little what do they call that? A nice little slap back on your open hat here now. So now that you have everything at a good volume and everything's kind of working together and it's sounding a little better, it still doesn't have the glue holding it all together. It's still separate mixer tracks routed to one mixer track coming in at their own respective volumes. To get your beat mix on a professional level, you're gonna wanna do some processing on your master track. And the first thing I like to do is I'm gonna use plugins that you guys are familiar with, because during this part of the process I like to stick to my Waves plugins, but everybody can't afford. They're not the most popular thing for at-home producers that are working on an at-home producer budget. So I'll work with this Fruity limiter here. I like to work with the preset on this one, max loudness except noise. I'll turn it off, and I'll let you guys hear the difference when it's bypassing active. So you can see it sounds a little crazy right now, but everything ends up with its own spot sonically and visually in the mix here, but it's a little loud. So I'm gonna bring my gain down, 4 dB. Bring it down a little more. This purple line here is your gain line. Everything corresponds to your little meters down here. This green line is your ceiling. Your default ceiling, you really don't want your waveforms to end up going over. So I always leave a little space in between so you know you have room in your mix for them. And then wherever I bring my gain to, which I have it about there before I messed with it, I try to bring my ceiling around close to where it would be without closing this gap in between them. You'll see as you mess with your knobs and you find your correct saturation and your gains, that you end up with these nice full peaking waveforms. There's not really much noise in there. Everything's working together. So at that point, you're ready to compress. So I'll use regular fruity compressor here. This isn't the video to teach you what a compressor is or what it does, because that is a whole class in itself, but I will do my best to give you a quick rundown really quick. Your ratio here is pretty much what's telling your compressor. Right now it's set to 1.0 to 1, so every decibel that's coming in, your compressor will put 1 decibel out. If you set it to 4 to 1, that means 4 decibels will come in before 1 decibel is output. For my beat mixes, this is normally around where I run 4 to 1. I keep my release around 200, 250, but I like my attack fast. I like instant attack on my beats. We don't really need a hard compressor on here, so we'll turn that down a little bit to a soft. This will be a little soft. Yeah, we'll a soft mix. And also the threshold, I'll take it down about 3.5 dB. Well, always whatever you take out of your compressor, you want to put back in. So if you're taking 3.6 out, you want to put 3.6 back in, so you don't end up messing with your actual volume of your composition. So we'll get that 3.6, and we'll hear how that sounds. So I'll bypass it and I'll turn it on so you guys can see when it gets to work. There you have a pretty basic beat mix. Me personally, I go way farther into it, but for somebody starting out, or for somebody who doesn't have a full grasp on the proper way to do this, I hope I helped you out. Hope it wasn't rambling too much. Hope it made sense. Like, subscribe. I'm new to this YouTube shit, so throw me a bone. I hope you liked the first episode of Fredo Taught Me. There's more to come, man. Let me know what you guys want to see, what you guys want to learn. I'll do my best to try to make it happen for you. Until next time.